Hey everyone, make sure to like and subscribe for more spooky stories. It was a dark and stormy night. Rain lashed against the car windows as 4 teenagers drove to a remote cabin in the woods. There was Mike, the athletic one, Emily, the smart one, Jake, the funny one, and Chloe, the scared one. "Are we there yet?" Chloe asked, her voice trembling. "Almost," Mike replied, his eyes glued to the winding road. The cabin loomed ahead, dark and imposing. Its silhouette against the stormy sky sent shivers down their spines. As they stepped out of the car, a cold wind whipped through the trees like a warning. "This is creepy," Jake muttered, trying to hide his fear. The friends entered the cabin. It was dark and musty inside, the air thick with the smell of damp wood and something unfamiliar. Cobwebs clung to every corner, and dust covered the furniture. "Let's get a fire going," Emily said, trying to break the tension. They soon had a fire crackling in the fireplace, casting flickering shadows that danced on the walls. As they unpacked their bags, they couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Every creak of the floorboards and every rustle outside the windows sent shivers down their spines. "I'm going to make some hot chocolate," Chloe said, her voice barely a whisper. The others nodded, too unnerved to speak. As the night deepened, the storm raged outside, the wind howling like a lost soul and the rain lashing against the windows with relentless fury. The friends huddled around the fire, telling stories to distract themselves from the eerie noises that seemed to be coming from the walls. The flickering flames cast long dancing shadows that seemed to move with a life of their own. A low moan echoed down the chimney, followed by the sound of scratching. It was as if something was trying to claw its way into the room, sending shivers down their spines. "What was that?" Chloe whispered, her eyes wide with fear. Her voice trembled, barely audible over the crackling fire and the storm outside. "Probably just the wind," Mike said, though his voice lacked conviction. He tried to sound brave, but the uncertainty in his eyes betrayed him. Later, as they tried to sleep, Jake swore he heard someone whispering his name. The sound was faint, almost drowned out by the storm, but unmistakable. He sat up in bed, listening intently. His heart pounded in his chest as he strained to hear over the noise of the storm. The whispering continued, soft and insidious, coming from the shadows in the corner of the room. It was as if the darkness itself was speaking to him, filling him with dread. "Guys, I think there's someone in here with us," Jake said, his voice shaky. He could feel the hairs on the back of his neck standing up. The others sat up in their beds, their hearts pounding. Fear gripped them as they listened to the strange noises filling the room. Their eyes darted around the room, but they couldn't see anything in the darkness. The oppressive blackness seemed to close in on them, making it hard to breathe. The next morning the storm had passed, but the sense of dread remained. The air was thick with an unsettling calm, as if the forest itself was holding its breath. The friends decided to explore the woods around the cabin, hoping to find some answers, or maybe even a way to call for help. They moved cautiously, their eyes scanning the surroundings for any signs of life or danger. The trees were tall and imposing, their branches intertwined, forming a dense canopy overhead. The sunlight barely penetrated through, casting eerie shadows on the forest floor. The forest floor was covered in a thick layer of dead leaves that crunched under their feet. Each step seemed to echo in the silence, amplifying their sense of isolation. As they walked, they noticed strange symbols carved into the trees. The markings were intricate and unfamiliar, hinting at a forgotten language or a long-lost ritual. The symbols looked ancient and sinister, and the friends couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Every rustle of leaves or snap of a twig made them jumpy and paranoid. They stumbled upon an old abandoned well, its stone rim crumbling with age. The well seemed to beckon them, its dark depths promising secrets and perhaps dangers. "What is this place?" Emily asked, her voice barely a whisper. Her eyes darted around, searching for any clues that might explain the eerie atmosphere. Just then, they heard a twig snap behind them. The sound was sharp and sudden, breaking the tense silence and sending a jolt of fear through the group. They spun around, their hearts pounding in their chests. The forest seemed to close in on them, the trees appearing more menacing than before. "Who's there?" Mike shouted, his voice echoing through the silent woods. The echo seemed to mock them, bouncing back with no answer, leaving them more unnerved than ever. Section 5. A ghastly discovery. Silence. They waited, their breath held tight, but there was no response. Slowly they turned back to the well. As they peered into its dark depths, they saw something that made their blood run cold. At the bottom of the well lay a pile of bones, human bones. "Oh my God!" Chloe gasped, covering her mouth with her hand. The friends stared in horror at the gruesome discovery. Who had died here, and how? Fear gnawed at their insides, threatening to consume them. They had stumbled upon something dark and sinister, something they couldn't explain. They knew they had to get out of the woods, and fast. Section 6. Trapped. Panicked, the friends raced back to the cabin, their lungs burning. They burst through the door, slamming it shut behind them. They fumbled with the lock, their hands shaking, desperate to secure themselves inside. But as they turned to barricade the door, they made a chilling discovery. The door wouldn't budge. It was locked and the key was gone. "What?" Emily exclaimed, rattling the doorknob. "It's locked!" Panic surged through them. They were trapped, hunted in this secluded cabin with something unknown. "We're locked in!" Chloe cried, her voice high with terror. "We're going to die here!" Section 7. Facing the unknown. Fear turned to desperate action. They searched frantically for another way out, checking windows, testing the fireplace, but every exit was sealed tight. Defeated, they huddled together in the center of the cabin, their eyes darting to every shadow, every creak of the floorboards. Then it started. A low growl resonated from the attic above them, followed by heavy footsteps pacing back and forth. Something was up there, something big and angry. The friends held their breath, listening in terror as the sounds grew louder, closer. Suddenly, the trapdoor in the ceiling creaked open. A pair of glowing red eyes peered down at them from the darkness above. Section 8. A desperate escape. The sight of those malevolent eyes sent a jolt of adrenaline through them. They scrambled to their feet, scattering in different directions. Mike grabbed a heavy fire poker, ready to fight for their lives. Emily scanned the room, searching for a way out. Chloe and Jake cowered behind an overturned table, their faces pale with terror. A shadowy figure began to descend the ladder from the attic, its form becoming clearer with each passing second. It was tall and gaunt, with long, sharp claws and teeth that glinted in the dim light. Its eyes glowed with an unnatural intensity, burning into their souls. "We have to get out of here!" Emily shouted, her voice shaking. Section 9. The shocking truth. Mike lunged at the creature with the fire poker, his face contorted with determination and fear. He knew this might be their only chance to survive, but it swatted him aside like a fly, its strength far beyond anything they had anticipated. He crashed into the wall, the air knocked out of him, leaving him gasping and disoriented on the floor. The creature turned its attention to Emily, who stood frozen in fear, her eyes wide and her body trembling. It advanced on her, its claws outstretched, ready to strike, its eyes glowing with a menacing light. Just as the creature was about to reach her, Chloe did something unexpected. She stepped forward, her heart pounding but her resolve unshaken. Her eyes fixed on the monster, she spoke in a voice that was both firm and commanding. "Stop!" she shouted, her voice echoing through the cabin. "I know who you are!" she declared, her finger pointing directly at the creature. The creature paused, its head tilted to the side in curiosity, as if trying to understand her words. The others stared at Chloe in amazement. What was she doing? They had never seen her so bold, so fearless. "You're not a monster," Chloe continued, her voice trembling slightly but gaining strength with each word. "You're just scared and alone," she said gently, her eyes softening with empathy. The creature's eyes flickered, and for a moment, a flicker of something akin to sadness crossed its face. It was as if Chloe's words had reached a part of it that had long been buried. The group slowly began to approach, their fear mingling with a newfound hope. Could Chloe be right? Could this creature be more than just a monster? Chloe extended her hand towards the creature, a gesture of peace and trust. "We can help you," she said softly, "if you let us." The creature hesitated, its eyes darting between Chloe and the others. The room was filled with a tense silence, everyone holding their breath, waiting to see what would happen next. Section 10. Freedom's Sweet Relief. Slowly, the creature lowered its claws. Its shoulders slumped, and it let out a low whine that sounded almost mournful. Chloe took a step closer, extending her hand towards the creature. "It's okay," she said softly. "We're here to help." As Chloe touched the creature's hand, a blinding light filled the cabin. The creature let out a deafening roar, and then everything went silent. When the friends opened their eyes, they were no longer in the cabin. They were standing in the middle of the woods, the sun shining brightly through the trees. The cabin was gone, and so was the creature. They were safe. Section 11. A final word. What did you think of that spooky story? Don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Tell me your favorite part in the comments below.